Warning, you are about to enter the BGP suite. No thongs, no boy shorts, no thigh highs, no commandos are permissible. BGP, big girl panties only. So pull up to woman up. And no, please don't leave with your panties in a bunch.
Welcome to BGP. Today we are discussing, we're doing a review on Will. Adrianne's holding that good book up. We all read the book, and we wanted to give our feedback on what we thought about it and see if it kind of reshaped our ideas about who he is and why he moves the way he does. I'm going to start with Chapter 1.
Oh my God! From the beginning, it was fire.
From the beginning, where he spoke on his childhood and, you know, how he was pretty much a little goofy little kid who had what do you call it? What do you call that? That some kids have imaginary friend. Mm-hmm. He had an imaginary friend that he, you know, kind of relied upon when shit got crazy in the real world. When shit would get crazy in the real world, he would go to that imaginary friend that would, you know, kind of entertain him or crack him up or kind of take him away from the reality of some of the things he saw or that was going on in his household. He came from a 2-parent home. And let's just start with that. What are your thoughts on Chapter 1?
You know, I just felt bad for him because he did witness some abuse in the house. Mm-hmm. And because of that abuse, I think he felt like a coward, which he mentioned a lot. He mentioned being a coward. And I know that kids feel that way because here it is, your mom, the person you love so much, you can't defend her, or you don't know how to defend her, and you don't know what to do. And then he had this brother who would say stuff every once in a while, who had enough courage to try to say something, although he was no match to Daddy-O. But he, that was interesting to me, and it did shape to me how he ended up being. It makes sense why even though he was a big dude, he was still scary, very passive. Yes. And I think he took that into his adulthood in dealing with women.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mona?
I think Chapter 1 was the chapter that actually turned Will Smith into who he is today. Yeah. Yes, there was some verbal and physical abuse. There were some things that happened to him that probably a lot of us in the community, you know, were disciplined in a manner that we didn't like. Mm-hmm. If there were no statutes of limitations as far as child abuse and child neglect, what percentage of us would have cases out?
Probably about a good 60 to 70%.
I say 90% of us would have cases out on our parents, and probably a lot of us would be in foster homes. What I appreciated about Chapter 1 was that he was grooming his boys into men. And as we read that chapter, I believe that most of the times we as women, we don't understand that grooming process because we're women. And those are our babies. And although we know our babies have to grow up, we don't want any harm to come to them as far as the public and, you know, whoever we pick as a husband. Do you think that his wife played a big role in Will being a coward?
The mom?
The mom?
Yes.
I don't think so.
No.
I don't think so. I think he just ended up being this, the more quiet. You know how you have your kid that's one of your kids is just like, a different personality.
Yeah.
He was just the quiet one who didn't really speak up for himself. He didn't say anything. And no, I don't think it was I don't think she babied him.
No, she didn't. I don't think she played the role of him being a coward.
No,
I think it was just more of him being one of those kids that was just afraid. That was just, you know, you got this big old man, Daddy-O, and then you have this soft, nurturing mom who's, as he put it in the book, can take a punch, right? She would just take it which he would explain later on in the chapters. There's a reason why she did it.
Yes.
But I think it was more or less he was never really the confrontational type.
Yeah.
That's just what it is. I don't think it's her doing. I just think that's just who he was, unfortunately.
He was the funny kid, the play off everything with a joke.
Yes.
So it just wasn't in him to be aggressive. Yeah, that's what I got from it.
So joking was his coping mechanism.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
I think that, you said his mother was soft and nurturing, but she wasn't soft and nurturing all the time. She had a mouth on her.
Yes, she did.
And I think a lot of the things that happened to her was because of that mouth. And that is something terrible for children to see, that their mother is being knocked out so much that, she can't get up. But I think that both parties, the father and the mother, played a big, important role in how all three of them would become later on in their lives. The father, we already knew, was what they say, he had been drinking and smoking since he was early teen.
Yeah, 13, 12,
and
13.
she chose that man. And I think it's very important that when you get married to someone and you are going to raise the children, that you want to talk about discipline and how we're going to discipline these children. And if I don't want my children to be whooped and hands being put on my children as well as me, then we don't need to consummate this marriage. I think that she did eventually leave when Will was 13 years old. I think the damage had been done. I think it's very important also that in the dynamics of a relationship, there are no secrets in the household when it comes to the kids or the family business. And when dad is disciplining the children in a way that we feel is harsh, that we have to understand that there's a time where we play good cop and bad cop. And right now, dad is the bad cop. And mama is supposed to come in and be the good cop and follow the instructions or the discipline that the father has implemented, but in a softer way. And I think that if Will's mother would have done that, it would have helped develop him a little bit better. I think when you have to resort to a moniker or a imaginary friend who was actually a little white boy in a blue suit, that he said was kind of telling him what direction to go in, you have failed as a parent. She was supposed to go in here and say, hey, dad did this. This is the reason why he did it. And this is what you need to learn from it so that you don't get this kind of discipline ever again in life. And I think that she failed in doing that. So that's my point on chapter 1.
Well, wait, let me go back to chapter 1, like to when he first described his parents, because he was showing how they had a lot in common, and he wasn't abusive in the beginning.
Right.
He was an entrepreneur. She had her nursing credentials, which was rare back in that time frame. So they weren't from the lower class or the poor class. They actually was middle class, and they came to the table before the kids were born. They came to the table with something. So it wasn't that he became abusive from the beginning. That came later. Into the equation. And then as far as the imaginary friend, I'm in agreement with you as far as like I would definitely want to know why my child is, going to that when not wanting to take on the reality. But it makes sense when you see someone going through trauma.
Yeah. Exactly.
Kids handle trauma differently. So some, they become aggressive and want to fight. Some, become your serial killers. Yeah. Some, like him, they have that imagination, right? Some become your artists of today who are good writers, good storytellers. It just affects them differently. So that when he talked about that imaginary friend and who that imaginary friend is and all that stuff, to me, it was similar to the roles that he take, because if you notice a lot of the roles that he played, they're always this super strong, masculine,
something different than
superhero.
What he is.
Yes, the opposite of what he is, superhero, right? The hero in the movie. Independence Day, Men in Black. What else did he play?
Somebody bigger than life.
Hitch, you know, just the different
Pursuit of Happiness.
You know, he's always like the hero in the story that, you know, unlike what it was going on in his real life. So I just thought that was pretty interesting.
Yeah, my sister, being 6 years younger than me, she did have an imaginary friend. And maybe that was because she felt a disconnect from the siblings, you know. Maybe, you know, I don't know. As a matter of fact, it wasn't until my father passed in 2010 that my best friend told me, you remember your sister used to have an imaginary friend, because I didn't even know. So maybe because, you know, she felt alone, maybe she wanted a playmate of her own, or I don't know.
I think, too, sometimes when you have experienced a lot of trauma and fear, and you don't know how to communicate it, you will
Talk it
out with something else. Or even if you're talking to yourself,
Right.
You know what I mean?
Write it out, talk it out, act it out.
Exactly.
Next time this happens, I'm going to do this, I'm going to say this.
Right. So I think that's kind of where that came from. I think of that movie Precious, too, like how she would go into this world where she was in fantasy.
Yes.
Because she didn't know how to cope with this big shit that was happening in her life.
That trauma.
The trauma.
Yep.
So I think it all came from that. And I think he had a major fear of his father. And that was his way of having somebody that he could talk to.
Yeah. So I'm going to go to another chapter that stuck out with me, which was performance. Because I'm not going to just go do chapter 1, 2, 3, right? Because we'll be here all day.
Yeah.
But performance was the one where he really kind of touched on why he felt like, if I'm the entertainer, then my mom won't get her ass beat.
Yeah.
If I'm the entertainer, then my brother won't get his ass beat. If my dad is laughing, my grandmother is laughing, and my mom is laughing.
Yes.
And the kids at school
and the kids is laughing.
Get beat up.
I won't get bullied. I won't get my ass beat. Everybody's fine. And when you look at him in today's time, in the real world, when you could tell when he has conversations and stuff, and it's serious, he's always laughing. Yeah. He's always trying to throw a joke in there. And a lot of people do that when they don't know how to handle serious situations.
When they're not confrontational.
Correct.
So he's always trying to soften the blow.
Correct.
Yeah. And he's always trying to seek validation also.
Correct.
Yeah. Even when they were at the Red Table Talk, when you notice how he tried to, and you could see the frustration in his face.
The pain.
But he tried to make light of it by making something funny. You know, like even when she brought up the entanglement part, you could tell that he uses that all the time, his performance.
Right.
Yes. Yeah. Any chapters jump out at you guys that you remember?
The dysfunction of all his relationships.
Yes. Let's get on that. Let's talk about the first girlfriend.
Melanie.
Yes. Let's talk about her. Melanie was... He loved her.
Yeah, he did.
He was really into her. But he was
busted.
Yeah. That's right. He got busted by mama having sex with Melanie in the house.
Yes.
Side note, before we do that, if you had a daughter and you caught her having sex in your kitchen, would you really just say, oh, and turn around and go back in there? Or would you be like,
I'm swinging.
Get your ass up. What are you doing?
Shoot. I caught my son.
And I'm telling your mama, like, let's go. We about to talk. But she just, boys got, man, listen. Okay, back to Melanie. Melanie was a piece of work, but he was really faithful to her. Like, she cheated a few times, and he still tried to make it work until he couldn't have it enough, because he said he had a, what did he call a bullshit meter, that if he could sense there's a lie, he said he would hear that like like a remote. Right. Something's off. But yeah, when that didn't work and they broke up, he was talking about how he became like this super hoe for a minute. And he was so sexually active that he made himself sick.
Yeah, that was strange.
I had never heard that before, but he said he was having sex with so many women that when he would orgasm or climax, he would get sick. He would throw up. So
that was interesting. That was. And I guess like with anything else, like emotionally, you don't know how to turn it on, turn it off. And so you've overwork that part, and it just begins to be gross. I can't see it, but okay. Yeah, I guess it just begins to get gross to him because that's the way he described it. It was like made him want to vomit or throw
made
up.
him throw up.
Yeah. So
I don't necessarily think that he really, maybe in retrospect when he looks back, that he loved Melanie. I think Melanie was his first piece. Yeah. I think Melanie was the first person that actually gave him some attention. She also came from like a terrible background.
Yes.
And,
foster care.
He saw himself helping her, and then he asked the parents to let her move in, and they wouldn't have sex, and they agreed to do it. Will just jumps into things, and he thinks that if he's a genuine person, that everybody else is going to be a genuine person. If he gives this way, they're going to give this way. And Melanie, I don't even see how he loved her, except for that was, like I said, his first piece. And he doesn't have a vetting system to me. He just, he just moves. Yeah, I'm just going to crack a joke. Hey, girl, you might go together. We together now. Yeah, that was the problem with Melanie. So
yeah. And then so that ended, and he then was it Tanya?
From LA?
From LA? The weed girl. Because before we get to Cherie and Jada, it was Tanya, right? So Tanya was the weed girl who, every time he would go to Cali, she would, hook him up, place to stay, make sure. And when things was kind of falling apart for him after he had the success with his first album, he got hit with by the IRS for not paying taxes. And so he lost everything. He had to give back the houses, the cars, motorcycles, everything. And he decided to go to Cali. And
wasn't she like a publicist or
something like that? Something like that. Yeah.
That's how they met. Yeah. She was like a PR in this little entourage or something. Yeah.
But then she ended up letting him stay with her while he, kind of pulled himself up by the bootstraps and get back on his feet. But before I even get to that, let me go back just a little bit. Not only was he broke, not only did he get the heads up from a friend who was a cop to say, hey, there's some people that you hang with that we watching, that we about to take down. So I advise you, leave town. I advise you, get out.
Distance yourself.
Right? And so he hit up one of his boys and one of the guys that was under investigation and asked to borrow money. And, the guy was like, I could be doing the same shit you're doing. We could be doing the same thing, but how much you need? Gave it to him, and he said, I'm going to pay you back. That broke my heart. Yeah. That broke my heart when I got to that part where he's like, I'm going to pay you back. And he said, yeah, I know. And then a few days later, after he arrived in Cali, he got word that same friend, his life was taken. He was murdered, right?
I think that it was important for him when Will asked him, for his help. It helped him feel a little bit better about what he was doing, because he was a drug dealer, right?
Correct.
And that Will had to reach out to him after he had already had this high performance of fame and success, and just to let him know, dude, you ain't no better than me. And look who you had to come to. And it was very disheartening when the young man died. Yeah.
And then Tanya was like, all right, nigga. Get your ass up. It's time to go. Okay.
And she let him
for a while. She
let him go through it. And she was process. Like, you gotta go.
It's time to go. It's time to go. Get back up. Get out there. Time to go.
And he was like, where am I gonna go? And she was, where am I going? And she was like, I don't know.
I don't know where you're going, but you gotta get out.
Yeah. You gotta get to moving. You gotta be Will Smith again. So
So that goes back to a previous episode that will be coming out soon, where we spoke on sometimes how women can play the Build-A-Bear project and pour their all into someone and give their all into someone that probably doesn't really see that same, they don't feel the same about that particular person. I think in this situation, I guess Tanya knew it. That's why she was like, okay, you need to do time to go, time to go. And so I was kind of happy for Tanya.
I think that Tanya knew that he never thought of her as a potential mate or a wife. And he just needed somewhere to stay.
Yes.
Okay, and I'll be that.
Yeah.
Yes.
But you're not going to stay here.
But you're not going to waste. You're not going to waste my
Exactly.
time.
Go.
And that shows you how women are selfless, and they will help you.
Yep.
Yeah.
But you're going to stand on your own 2 feet,
yeah.
because I'm going to resent you.
Right.
You're going to stay a boss, or you going to get the hell out
Or
of
you
here.
got to go.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I think that shows strength in that area for her too, because so many times we'll just sit there and coddle and not give them that. Yeah.
Next thing you know, we giving them money.
Yes.
We paying all the
Yes.
bills.
Right.
He ain't got no more to
He
get up.
ain't
He would
got-
have never been Will Smith
Yeah.
again.
Yeah.
Right.
So we have that, and then he goes. He gets invited to a party, right?
Yeah.
He gets invited to a party by Quincy Jones.
Quincy Jones.
And while there, Quincy talks about, hey, can you act? I'm thinking about doing this show. I'm doing it on this guy. His name is Benny Medina. You know who Benny Medina is? And, he talks about it, goes through the motions. He gets Will to try out, to audition right there in front of quite a few people at his house. And he kills it. And Fresh Prince of Bel-Air is started. They decide to do that. He admitted to being in love with Hillary, but Hillary gave him no play.
Okay.
Smart move.
Right.
He admitted that he met his second wife there. He was trying to shoot his shot one day while she was coming out from an audition, and she was like, "Nigga, get out my face."
Okay.
Yes. Right.
He was like, "What's up, y'all?" She was like, "Oh, nigga, fuck you."
Wow.
So she didn't even. There was no attraction there in that moment.
Because she was trying to get a role, right?
Right.
position.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She wanted to.
She was too short.
She was too short.
Right.
Yeah. And then there was Cherie. He saw Cherie in the audience, and he was sitting there cracking jokes and all that, and she laughed and kiki, ha ha, whatever, and they went out.
That was it. Yeah.
They was in a relationship. A few months later, they was living together. And it goes back to what Mona said. I do think Will moves
does.
fast.
Yeah, he
He's
does.
like,
Yes,
if
he
I
does.
see it, I'm going to take it. Let's
Yes.
go. We go together now. And that's it,
No
and
major thought into it.
Yeah. And so they got together and they was in a relationship and things was kind of going bad for a little bit. But after a while, his career kind of was taking off. But he was also cheating with his second wife. It turns out that Tisha Campbell and Dwayne Martin was hooking him up with Jada.
Yeah.
So they would go different places with them four while his wife was at home with the baby.
Wow.
And hang out and whatnot. And I guess after a while with the arguing and whatnot, Cherie put her foot down and filed for divorce.
Good for her.
I think that debunks the part where they tried to adamantly say that there was no cheating
Correct.
while he was with Cherie, and there was absolutely some
was.
cheating, and shame on you, Tisha Campbell,
Correct.
for introducing Jada to a married man who was going through some problems because you felt that you didn't want him to be lonely while he was going through it.
But we know how her thing turned out.
Right.
Yeah.
Now she divorced, so
Yes.
yeah.
The part for me was when he was cheating with Jada, and him and Cherie had got into a little altercation behind some money. He was pretty bad with money. And he confided in Jada that Cherie wanted to work on their marriage. And she advised him to go back with his wife, and that's when he broke up with her.
Yeah, he decided in that moment.
Yeah.
So that right there was a red flag, or should have been a red flag
For Jada.
for Will.
Exactly.
About
That
Jada, that, okay, she did give you some good advice, but she never wanted to be wife. She never wanted to be mother. She never wanted to be all that. So even if you're in a situation with a woman and he's married and you say go back, she should have been more adamant with him going back versus just taking him on. So we know that she got with Will for ulterior motives.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
I got that too.
Absolutely. That is definitely what I picked up on. Like,
Yep.
she was definitely playing. Because in the beginning, when he shot his shot, she was like, fuck out my face.
Okay.
She wasn't even interested. But then all of a sudden, you know, he became the Fresh Prince.
Yes.
Right?
Now.
Because she was in a different world, right? She was on a different world, and her career was not
taking off like his.
and here he was blowing up.
He was
so
starting, yes.
Tisha said, girl, you better get with our boy.
Yes.
Isn't it funny how we as women gravitate towards men who can make us laugh?
Yes.
And then once they can make us laugh, we forget all
the other stuff, the other red flags.
And kind of like a Faith and Biggie type of thing.
Yeah.
Every time Biggie would do something, cheat or whatever, he'd start beatboxing.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
To the point where she was like,
yes.
Not today, no more.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah.
We like those guys that make us laugh.
I want to just give his father some accolades.
Yeah.
Because even though he was an alcoholic, even though he was abusive, he said his father was his, and I'm paraphrasing, worst nightmare, but his greatest person that he ever known in his life. His father was there for every performance, everything that Will did, even when he fell that first time they called Daddy. And Daddy-O was out there, you know,
and got him out that studio.
I want to give that to him because he never confronted his father. All the things that he said he was going to do to him, I'm going to avenge my mother. He never did it, and I think that he still was cowardly in that manner to the day that Daddy-O passed, because there's a part where he told him, "You did well."
Yeah.
Yeah.
He told him
that.
He always overlooks people's faults.
Right.
I think that that's something that he needs to work on, you know. But Daddy-O was an entrepreneur. His father was an entrepreneur.
At a time,
Daddy-O was charismatic.
Yes.
He was charismatic. His father could, talk to anybody.
Yes.
So he got a lot of his attributes
from his dad,
the person that he feared.
Yeah,
who
exactly.
was his father.
Yeah.
So I just want to give Daddy-O his
flowers
right there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I really think that the mother,
she's a G too, though.
Yeah,
she's
a G.
Ain't no punk.
She was educated.
Yeah.
She believed in correcting language. She would tear my butt up because I'm always missing up.
Her and her mama,
Gigi, the grandmother
was awesome.
Grandma, yeah.
They did have something in common. They both had grandmothers that were
with
nurses.
the same name, and nurses and had the same name.
Same name. They both had daughters outside of the relationship, and both of their names were Pam.
Yes.
So they did start off having a lot in common, and I just think when we don't understand, like when we're talking to the men that we're on, once the bills kick in, once the mouths have to be fed, we need to be a little bit more nurturing. And there was a part where he hit her, the wife, and she said, "You could hurt me, but you can't." What'd she say? You could.
Something like
you can hit me, but you can't hurt me.
You can hit me, but you won't hurt me. Like because Will asked her when he put that in the book, he told her that, this is going in the book. I'm gonna talk about what I saw, and she was shocked that he remembered that, and he was like, "Yeah, I never forgot." And he was like, "Why did you take it?" And she was like, she just made it a point to say, "I never wanted you to see me weak. I never wanted you to see me on the floor and I stayed down. That's why I always said, no matter how many times you knock me down, I'm going to always get back up." That's what she told me.
Right. And there's a part that I don't know if I misinterpreted, but when she left and went and lived with the grandmother, she left the kids there with him, right?
No. They went with her.
They went with
her.
her.
They went with her.
Okay.
Yeah, around 13 is when Will was 13. That's when she actually left and went to move with Gigi.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
I just think that she was egging him on. When you're dealing with an alcoholic and a macho man, and
but
he's
he took
the
care
head,
of his family. Yeah.
That don't provoke him.
Yeah.
Sticks and stones could break my bones.
Yeah.
What you gonna do? You knock me down, you didn't knock me out.
You gonna like, oh yeah?
Yeah, let me get you.
Yeah.
No provoking.
Overall, I thought it was an excellent read.
Yes.
Like you said, Neisha, it gives you some insight of who he is today.
Definitely. You look at him different now.
He should have never married Jada.
Never.
No. No, and I hate saying that, but it's true. It's like when you look at it, how they met, what they're going through. Definitely, he should have. In my opinion, he should have tried to make things work with Cherie when she said,
Yes.
"I went to see a therapist. I've been going through therapy, and I realized we didn't do the work to try to make our relationship work, and I want to make it work." I think he should have given her another shot.
Yeah.
But
Because why he broke up with her was on him anyway.
yes, it was his fault.
Was it the barber that he was trying to get his hair cut?
That was like kind of the final straw for him. He claimed was that because he asked her to pay the barber the money since he didn't have the cash, and she only gave him a small chunk of it, like $400 instead of $1,000 or something. But yeah, it was
because she was trying to make sure they had money because she got a baby to feed.
Yeah,
and he was always on the road, and
he wasn't
just
good with his money.
Yeah, he wasn't good with money, so he just broke up with her.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Overall, it was a good book. Final thoughts.
I liked it, and like you said, I think it does make you look at him differently. It makes you understand his demeanor and his personality. So I really liked the book. Yeah, it was good. Yeah. And Jada, I'm just so done with her right now. I really am.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For me, I would say it was definitely a good book. It was an eye-opener into why he is the way he is, and I believe why he's with Jada for this long and why he tolerates her behavior because, somewhere in that mind of his, I think it reverts back to that kid, and he doesn't believe in divorce. He doesn't believe in breaking up families, and he just feels like he just has to he has to be that hero in the story and make it work, unfortunately. So that's my thought, though. We could. It's a good book, though. I would encourage, if you haven't read it, I would definitely encourage you to read it.
It's a good book because remember the part of when the mother found divorce papers.
Oh, yeah.
30 years later. Yeah.
23 years later, and she was like, "Oh, I'm filing,"
Yeah.
And so that's why I'm kind of saying he was still a coward towards his dad because what he owed her about $40,000, and she wanted her money.
Yeah.
And Will knew that his daddy did not have $40,000. So,
Yes.
yeah. And
Final thoughts.
Will paid it. Excellent read. I suggest that you read it.
Please like, share, subscribe. Thank you for watching this. If you have any episodes or ideas you feel like we should talk on or a book we should read, let us know. If you haven't read the book, I encourage you to read it, and we love to talk about it. We are out. BGP.
All right.
Bye.